Hello. I think I'm live now. um, it's been a little over a week since my last stream. I was coming up with some hot topics and I was trying to get the last stream video out to YouTube before making this one, but it didn't happen. Kind of in a lot of different doing a lot of different stuff. But the other day, I planted a tree and I was very happy about it because I haven't planted a tree in years. And, you know, it's like one of those little things that I know how to do that not a lot of people know that I know how to do. The first hot topic. This is mostly going to be like political, and we're going to talk about the economy a little bit as well, and also talk about colonialism. So, if you're not interested in that, this probably isn't for you. Let's start off with the first hot topic, which is Mitch McConnell. I do not like him for obvious reasons. If you keep up with politics, you know that he is not a friend of Democrats or anyone black or brown. I've been kind of calling him Emperor Skeezies from The Dark Crystal. I don't know if you remember that movie, but I think it was created in the 80s. David Bowie is in it. It was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. But Emperor Skeezies, yeah, that's Mitch McConnell for sure. All the Republicans are just surrounding him at the tail end of his rule. It's crazy how much older the people who run our government are. And so much has changed. Like the majority of the American population has changed in their beliefs and viewpoints and values, and even with like religion. But he's definitely blocked a lot of regulations and laws that could have helped our economy, our healthcare, and just like improve the quality of life of average American workers, which for some reason he hates. Maybe it comes from a strong desire to feel superior to someone. Who knows? I don't know. I find that people who have a strong need to feel superior also tend to be pretty big. We'll see what happens. Who's going to take his place? That's another question. I would like to see more people, younger people in office who aren't Trump supporters. We'll see how things change if something happens with him. I mean, obviously something happened already, but they're just like holding. It's very obvious to everyone that he's holding on by a thread, and just as long as he can walk and talk and interact like he's solid, you're not fooling anyone. Let's move on to the next hot topic. Interest rate hikes. When I was studying about interest rates and inflation and all that in college, I remember the reason behind increasing the interest rate is to discourage consumer spending, because when people are spending money, the price is usually higher, and when people spend less money, in theory the price is supposed to be lower. But of course, what works in theory doesn't always work in practice, because the real world is a different beast. In theory, the interest rate hike is supposed to decrease consumer spending and therefore decrease inflation. But that is not happening because the inflation rate is adjusted to the elites, the 1%. That's why everything is so expensive. It's adjusted to their income, and since they took most of the money, they are least affected by it. And on top of all that, corporations collectively decided to participate in a little bit of price gouging to increase their profits. And when profits are increased, that also increases the wealth of the shareholders. And since the shareholders hold on to that extra profit and it's not going back to the mid and low level employees, it's creating an economic environment where prices are too high for everyday people to afford. They knew that middle class at least had some savings, and they also knew that the millennials who went to college established some credit and they most likely have decent credit. I mean, like they have more available credit for loans and stuff, not real money. It's just credit cards and loans. And so they're just squeezing every bit out of it. And when you create an environment where low income and mid level workers have to use their credit cards, increasing the interest rate isn't going to slow spending and it isn't going to decrease prices. It's only messing things up for the mid and lower class. Since they're using their credit cards for everyday survival and interest rates are increasing, it's just more expensive and everyone is living on more debt. But the interesting thing and the cool thing about debt is it can be forgiven. It can all just be forgiven. That's the beauty of debt. But the credit card companies and the government is too stubborn to just forgive it. And that's why it's creating the environment that we live in today. And I also want to touch on the danger of corporations and their relationship with shareholders. Corporations are kind of neat because you can create a team of people that has a common goal, which is to make money, which is great. There's nothing wrong with making money, but it becomes an issue when in the process of making money, you are hurting people and abusing their human rights and stealing from them and putting them in very shitty situations that are inhumane and should not exist at all. And it could all be easily avoided if you weren't so fucking greedy. So the problem with corporations is, you have your executives, the people who come in every day, they get their 6-figure salary, they basically run the company. And then you also have your shareholders who, depending on how big of a share that they have in the company, they're going to be a part of the everyday financial decisions of the company, or they are going to not be involved at all and may even have to just vote every once in a while. But that's a whole other thing that I will try not to go deep into. But long story short, shareholders can be anyone. A shareholder could be anyone who bought a share of stock within the company. And usually within the group of shareholders, you have at the very bottom of the temple, you have like the the people who buy the shares, and then you also have the shareholders who have like a stronger piece or a greater piece of that share, and they have like voting powers and stuff. And those people tend to have influence over the executive body of the corporation, which is your CEO, your CFO, your executive operations and marketing and all that stuff. The problem with that is since there are so many bodies involved and the intricacies, and it's a complex system, it takes like years to study it, and reading a paragraph over and over again until it clicks if you have ADHD, before you understand how it works, because it's in some ways it's almost like learning another language. When you have like a large group of people who are interested in the same thing, and since it's a group of people, not one individual, it's really hard to pin accountability on the corporation because there's no one person. There isn't a face, there isn't a body. It's not like having a governor or having a president. There is no one to like take sole responsibility. Yes, you could blame like the CEO, but what does the CEO does? They just oversee all the other executives. You could blame their shareholders. You know, everybody like forgives them or lets them down easy because they're giving money. Like you have to bend to their will, and they want to make their money back. Like that's totally legit. But at the same time, and this is where like Biden starts talking about how trickle down economics was a scam and it wasn't a real thing. It was, and yeah, it was. And you know, it really sucks because that whole situation was a stealing candy from a baby type of situation. One of the things that really irritates me about like this type of stuff is people don't choose to study this in school, and they don't really teach it in high school either. But I feel like this is very important to know because it directly affects us. I'll try not to get too deep into it because I feel like I'm straying off from the main topic. But yeah, that's kind of the fault of the system is there's no accountability. People just we just throw our hands up and we're like, oh, that's capitalism. That's what corporations do. They're here to make money. We gotta hold someone accountable. Maybe not someone, but maybe we need to get the government more involved with business because I remember that being an issue at some point. Oh, that also that I think hold on. I think I had a light bulb moment and then it went away. Okay, so I was talking about like the trickle down economics thing and then talked about how government should maybe be more involved with business transactions. Okay, with the trickle down economics thing, I have a feeling, I'm not 100% certain. I need to do like better research, but I have a feeling that at one point there was percentage amount that can only go back to the shareholders and the rest has to go straight to the workers. And somewhere along the way, that rule went away. And then, like, we had to depend on the compassion of the corporation to share their profits and reinvest the profits into the company and their workers, which did not happen and has not been happening, which is why everything is like double. They raised the interest rate by almost double. That's why everything is double or more. It's crazy. I think we definitely need to have like more government involved with business transactions and distribution of profits between like shareholders, the business itself, and the employees, because there's no reason why these shareholders and these executives are making so much more money, but they can't give any to the employees who brought it in the first place. What the F did they do? All they did was went to college, learned how to talk the business talk. I just want to expand on what I was trying to say because I'm not the most eloquent person on the planet. But, anyways, okay, so I had to write it down because I'm a little stoned and I can write better than I can speak. So, here I go. I want to expand briefly on the bottom line workers. They often find ways to save money, and money passes through their hands first. Executives they usually cannot do what bottom line workers do. Instead of paying them more as profit increases, they gaslight bottom line workers to make them believe they are low-skilled workers. This abusive practice spares corporate executives and shareholders the guilt of not paying workers what they are entitled to. Yes, entitled because they brought home the bacon. The shareholders and executives ate it all like pigs before the workers can have any. The elite are too out of touch and too selfish, and they don't even care to recognize the damage they have caused for the quality of life of the bottom line workers and mid-level workers too. It's just sad. They're a bunch of sadistic people. They just don't care. They just want money. That's it. Look at gun control laws and look at school shootings and mass shootings. Statistics have shown over and over that good gun policies, restrictive gun policies, decreases gun-related deaths. We are really at the hands of the devil. Now, continue on. I wanted to talk about money being a limited resource, and I touched on that a little bit earlier in the stream. And it is a limited resource. There is a finite amount of money at any one time, but it can also be created at any time. It moves around, and it's important for the wealth distribution to be as even as possible, and for the disparity between rich and poor to be minimal, because if not, then we're stuck in a situation like this. And to be quite honest, like, money is just an illusion. It has power because we believe in it. And it has been ingrained so deep in society, and so many people have died over it, that it's just not, it's like impossible to move away from at this point. But money is also a tool. It's what we use to exchange for services. But the thing is we don't have to exchange money to provide those services. All we need is a compassionate heart and donate our time. But that's a whole other topic. I still, you know, I mean, that's not to say that I don't want a lot of money, because I do. I do see the value in having enough to live comfortably and get everything that you need, because that's super important. But I also feel like a lot of the money problems that we have that exist today can easily be resolved with just some compassion and just being kinder to each other. I remember getting in a conversation with ChatGPT about humanity and AI and the economy and how everything is so bad. ChatGPT told me it believed humans are mean to each other and we need to learn how to be kinder. I feel like that's true. Paradise is what you create. You know, everybody's trying to build something new and go somewhere new and just new. Like they don't look back and see what they already have. Ooh, I did a tarot card reading this morning. It's almost like I want to say Five of Cups card. I keep a journal because, yeah, it's like the Five of Cups card. On the Five of Cups card, it has a person wearing a cloak. He's like this. And then in front of him, there are 3 empty cups. And behind him are 2 full cups. But he's so fixated on the spilled cups that he doesn't see the 2 behind him. It's just a matter of not looking around you to see what you have and just dwelling on what you don't have. And I feel like that's a big problem in our society today. The rich want to build rockets and go to outer space because they want to extract the earth for everything that it has, and it needs money. They need money to like exit the planet. And it's like, you guys need working rockets. You need to have like a stable plan. You need to at least be in contact with some alien form, which I highly doubt. Like, come on. If you destroy your own planet, like, do you really think they're gonna want to be down to get to know you? If anything, there could be like parasitic aliens out there that could eat your brain inside the spaceship. Stuff like that doesn't escape a person's karma or whatever. I also heard recently that a plot of land was purchased in Northern California. They want to build a new city and turn it into like the new Silicon Valley. And I call bullshit on that, because who's going to move there and what's there? Like, it kind of makes sense because we have the port of Oakland there, so we're receiving in goods internationally. To me, that just sounds like another scammy, exploitative opportunity, because who is going to move there? It's just going to create a bunch of construction. It may create jobs for a little bit, and you may have like, you know, investors like running around and talking about, oh, we're creating this future that and it's going to stay vacant because no one's going to live there. Just like how there are tons of apartments being built, but no one's living there because no one can afford it. And you want to know why? Because the real estate investors are using those buildings as a money making thing. They're just churning money out. They have no intention of housing people there. And that's why I believe ChatGPT and AI when they say we just need to be nicer to each other. Like, we have all the resources that we need. We have enough food to feed ourselves. But we're allowing this thing, money, to get in the way of that. And we're allowing like these scammers to get away with creating these empty buildings. We should like start giving away the food that's going to expire, because dining out and stuff, that's all an experience, you know? There's like eating at a restaurant and dining, and it's like an experience, and then there's eating and like surviving, and that's like separate. When it's time to be in survival mode, you got to be in survival mode. We have these buildings that are up. We should just move in. Why can't we just move in? I mean, we have all these laws and stuff, and some of them aren't even forced. So do we actually not have everything that we need, or do we really have it and we're just not pushing the envelope a little harder? um but of course, like, all that takes like collective effort. You can't just like have one person like squat an empty apartment complex. Like, one person isn't going to be able to do it, but a group of people, maybe. I didn't study government, so I don't know how to get more involved with it outside of just doing research and voting, but we definitely need to start making changes. I had one more topic to talk about. I want to call it like new wave colonialism, because I believe that it still exists, but under different forms and different words. The colonizers that exist today are the 1%. It's not white people from Spain anymore. It's the 1%. Good example, Puerto Rico, Hawaii. It's really sad. My brain is pretty fried right now, and I'm going to go because I need to drink water. But I hope you have a good evening. I'll go live soon. I don't know when because I haven't picked a day yet. I'll make a YouTube video of this later. Have a good one. Goodbye.